now we're going to look at how we can send information to a method in order for it to be able to carry out some kind of operation. Okay, so I've got a simple program here. What it does is it prompts the user to type in a whole number. We read in an integer. Okay, we then calculate that number squared and cubed, and then we tell the user what that number is squared and what it is cubed. Okay, now what I'm going to do is demonstrate how we can take this bit of code and put it into a method. Okay, so if we start off using the approach that we had before, we might say public static void. Again, we're not going to send anything back from the method at this point. We'll call it print squared and cubed. Okay, now if we just cut and paste this code into the method there, we're going to see we've got a problem, okay, in that it can't access the number that we created here. Okay, now you might think, well, with the scanner we can create a static scanner here and put it in there. We could do that, but that's potentially problematic because really we don't want this number to be accessible all over the place. The scanner we kind of did in the previous example, although arguably we don't now. So arguably a better approach, because it's only used here, is to put it back in this method. But here I need the number. So what we can do is we can actually say to this method, well, in order for this method to be able to function, it needs to be able to use a number, an integer. Okay, so we can specify in this set of brackets the type of thing it needs to use. In this case, it's an integer, and the name of that thing. Now I happen to have called it number already when I created it up here. Okay, so I can keep using number, but the important thing to understand is that this number, even though it's got the same name as this number, is not the same thing. Okay, and if we can tell that because if we click here, it lights up there and not here. Okay, just to make it even clearer, what I might do is I just change this one to user number. Okay, so we can tell they're definitely different. Now obviously at this point it's not actually going to do anything because we're never calling this method. So again, if I run it, we're not going to have the functionality. You know, we can enter a whole number, but it finishes because it gets to here. So what we need to do is to call this method. Okay, so we can do print square and cubed. And just like when we call a method on the string class that takes a parameter, our method now takes a parameter. So we have to supply a number to it. Okay, well, the number we've got from our user is called user number. Okay, so when we call this method, that number that's come from the user is passed into this method, okay, with its new name, which is just number. We square it, we cube it, and we print out the values. So let's run that and see that happen in practice. So enter whole number 6. There we go, we get our 6 squared and our 6 cubed. Okay, so that's what's called passing. We're passing a parameter here. So this is a parameter for a method. We're passing that parameter in. We then use this parameter within the method.